And welcome back to The Witch Show, where smart meets stupid and somehow makes
No.
What, dude?
No, dude, we are not doing this again. We are not doing
what
it again.
dude?
The intro, dude, that's my job.
Oh my
I'm
God,
narrating
dude,
the show.
again?
I
Really,
narrate
dude?
the show always. You don't get to hijack the show
Hijack
just
the
because
show,
you think
dude.
it's funny.
Oh, I don't think it's funny, dude. I know it's funny. The listeners love it. Look at you right now. You're sweating,
I'm not
dude.
sweating, dude. I'm irritated. There's a difference.
Right, irritation. The first stage of being replaced,
You
dude.
are not replacing me. I do the intro every episode. That's how the show works.
Dude, relax, okay? I was just going to do it this one time. Again.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you say every single time you do this.
Yeah, dude, and look how well it went, okay? You stormed out, I finished the intro. The episode did great. Honestly, you should be thanking me.
Thanking you? No, I'm not thanking you for stealing the role in my own show.
It's our show, dude.
No, my show. You're just the unhinged voice in my head that refuses to shut up.
And yet, here I am, talking loudly into a microphone, dude.
You're doing this on purpose.
Oh, yeah, dude. 100%. But listen, this episode's creepy. Like, real creepy. You sure you're in the right headspace to narrate it?
Yeah, dude, of course
maybe,
I am.
Maybe I should be doing it?
Stop.
What do you
Don't
think
touch
there,
me,
buddy?
dude.
It might be a little bit better if I
Get
just
out of
kinda
my
ease
face.
them in gently.
Gross. I can literally feel you breathing on
Breathing
me.
on
You're
you
the
with good
least
breath.
gentle thing about this entire
The
show.
least gentle... Okay, well, you know what? It builds character,
No,
dude.
dude, it doesn't. I swear to God, one of these days I'm not coming back.
Yeah, dude, you say that every single time.
Yeah, because every single time you
push your buttons until you leave? Yeah, that's
Oh
kind
my
of our
God,
thing,
you're
dude.
unbelievable.
Look, dude, don't freaking worry. I'll let you do the intro.
Cool, that's all I
Next
asked.
episode.
What?
Yeah, dude, next freaking episode. This one's
No,
mine.
dude, it's my freaking show, dude. I'm the narrating guy that does the intro every time. I don't know
dude,
why
you
we're
kinda
having
just-
this debate.
You complain a lot. That's the problem. We're
I do
having this
not
debate
complain.
because you complain.
You know what? Just forget it. I'm out of here. You just do the freaking show by yourself.
Oh, I was gonna, dude. Well, now that the freaking responsible one's gone, let's talk about treasure, missing people, and why some things in the mountains really don't like being disturbed.
Welcome to the Witch Show, where smart meets stupid and somehow
Dude,
makes...
Give me the freaking mic. Get off me.
Stop it, dude, right?
You stop it right.
Welcome to the Witch Show, where I'm... No, get off the...
Georgie, give me the microphone right now,
No,
dude.
Who's the unhinged one now?
Dude, you're hilarious right now. Now give me the freaking microphone.
No, dude, I am not giving you the microphone because my name's Georgie and I'm thinking out loud so you don't have to.
Nice try, dude. You said it wrong anyway.
No, I
it's
didn't.
Welcome to the Witch
I know
Show,
that-
where smart meets stupid and somehow
makes sense. My name's Georgie and I'm thinking out loud so you don't have to. See, I said it, and it's my win this time. I'm the freaking narrator.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Witch Show, from what I think seriously to you.
WITS, The Witch Show.
Cool story,
Oh my God. Wow, that was wild. I am sorry for that, everybody. Okay, unless you enjoyed it, then I'm not sorry for it. I hope you had a great week, and as always, thank you for joining me here every Saturday at 7 a.m. for The Witch Show, whether you're listening in your car or at work or with headphones while the rest of the world are still asleep. Just know this, I don't take a single one of you for granted, and the fact that you chose to spend part of your weekend here with me means more to me than you probably realize. This show doesn't exist without your support, or your messages or your shares, and the conversations that you keep alive long after the episodes end. So, seriously, thank you for being here, and thank you for being a part of this nutty show with me. We're like a little family of the Witch Show. That is the goal, of course. I'm building a community of weirdos who enjoy this. So, like always, get involved, go to the Facebook page, comment on this episode. Really, what do you have to lose? A couple of minutes of your time? You're going to gain so much more back. But enough of all of that. Idaho looks quiet on the map. Trees, rivers, mountains, nothing about it screams danger. But that's the lie of the wilderness. The quieter it looks, the more it can hide. Idaho sits directly in the spine of the Rocky Mountains, a system so old and mineral rich that people have been digging into it for centuries, long before the state lines or trail maps existed. Gold, silver, copper, these mountains were never empty. They were worked. And not everything that went into them ever came back out. During the late 1800s and early 1900s, Idaho experienced multiple gold rushes that didn't make it into the school textbooks. Not the famous California stories, the smaller, quieter ones. Prospectors moved through places that are now called the Sawtooth Mountains, the Salmon River Corridor, and what is today the Frank Church Wilderness. Back then, these weren't recreational areas. They were lawless, unmapped, and deadly. Men went in with hand-drawn maps, rumors, and promises of one last score. Many of them were never recorded as dead. They were just simply never seen again. But here's the part that doesn't sit right. Treasure hunters didn't just get lost. Camps were found untouched, supplies left behind, trails that stopped suddenly as if someone simply stepped off the map. Newspapers from the 1900s mentioned prospectors vanishing into the hills after claiming they had found something worth returning for. Not flakes, not dust, something substantial. And then, silence. No bodies, no recovery, no explanation. Fast forward to modern times and the pattern doesn't disappear. It just changes clothes. Hunters go missing during clear weather. Hikers are found miles from their last known location with no memory of how they got there. Search and rescue teams report cases where tracking dogs lost scent abruptly, not gradually. These patterns have been documented and debated extensively in works like Missing 411, but what's rarely discussed is where many of these disappearances happen. Mineral-rich wildernesses, historically mined terrain, and places that once carried rumors of hidden wealth. Now, pause on that idea for a second, because coincidence? Well, that's one thing, but repetition? That's definitely another. When missing people, abandoned mines, and lost treasure stories overlap again and again in the same geography, you have to ask whether we're dealing with bad luck or something systematic. Something that's been happening quietly for a very long time. Idaho isn't just wilderness, it's layered. Beneath the trails and trees are tunnels, claims, forgotten routes, and stories that never made it back to town. And that leads us to the question most people never think to ask. Not where the treasure is, but why nobody ever seems to come back once they get lost. Because if these mountains have been swallowing people for over 100 years, maybe the mystery isn't that the treasure is hard to find. Maybe the mystery is that the mountains have never wanted it taken in the first place. We know the treasure's here. We know that for a fact. If you just ask any boomer that's grown up here or lived here in the development of Idaho. I have some amazing grandparents, and my grandpa will tell you that he loved gold panning. He still does it to this day, and the dude's like 90. Because we know for a fact that there's gold here in these hills, in these mountains. For a long time, lost treasure stories were treated like campfire nonsense until people started dying for real. One of the clearest modern examples is tied to Forrest Fenn. He was a wealthy collector who openly admitted that he had hid a real treasure chest somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. This story is one of my favorites because I actually did buy the book that he left the poem in, and I did a bunch of research on my own. And if you've never checked out his book, I definitely recommend it. It's a great read. Kind of brings some nostalgia. I mean, I didn't grow up in the 1900s like he did. I was born at the end of them, but some of the stories in his book are actually pretty great. That being said, though, he didn't leave vague poetry for fun. He left clues because he knew people would go looking. And they did. Thousands of them. Combing forest, riverbanks, mountain terrain that looks eerily similar to Idaho's backcountry. Before the chest was officially recovered, at least 5 confirmed deaths were directly linked to the search. Experienced outdoorsmen drowned, fell, vanished, or were found dead in remote terrain. Some were former military, some were survival experts. These weren't clueless hikers wandering off trail. These were people who thought they were prepared. Fenn himself issued warnings telling people not to search where an old man wouldn't go, but the warnings came after the bodies. And even after the treasure was supposedly found, the deaths didn't immediately stop. Here's the detail that gets glossed over. The danger wasn't consistent with normal hiking risk. People didn't just slip and fall. Some were found far from logical search areas. Some vanished entirely, and many of these searches took place in terrain that mirrors Idaho almost perfectly. Steep drainage, thick timber, old mining corridors, and places where humans can disappear in seconds. The treasure wasn't killing people. The places tied to it were. Now, take that modern story and rewind the clock. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, prospectors didn't have GPS or rescue teams. They followed rumors, a vein up the river, a cache past the ridge, a place where nobody else knows about. Newspapers from across the Rockies include Idaho and Montana, mention men who went back for more and never returned. Not robbed, not confirmed dead, just gone. And what's chilling is that these disappearances almost always occur after someone claimed they'd found something valuable enough to risk security. The pattern doesn't belong to one treasure hunt. It shows up again and again across the Rockies, from Wyoming to Montana to Idaho, and even into Canada. In the north, it culminates in the infamous Valley of the Headless Men, where gold seekers were found decapitated while searching for Solmax gold. Different country, same mountain system, same result. Men searching for treasure, not coming back alive. And if you really think about it, it's really unsettling. Because treasure hunting isn't random wandering, it's targeted. People go to specific places with history, mineral value, and rumors attached to them. And when disappearances consistently happen around these same locations, it forces a terrifying thought. Maybe the danger isn't the terrain. Maybe it's what's already there. Something that notices when humans start digging too deep. And that's terrifying to me. It should be terrifying to you too, because if you look, and that's literally all you have to do is look, at some point, the disappearances stop looking random. Not because they are too many, but because they start behaving the exact same way. Search and rescue professionals across the Rockies have quietly admitted that certain cases didn't follow normal outdoor logic. Scent trails don't fade gradually, they end abruptly. Footprints don't scatter or circle, they stop. Gear is found neatly placed, sometimes folded, sometimes left in locations that make no sense for someone in distress. And what's unsettling is how often these cases happen in areas with known mining past or long-standing treasure rumors. This is where research like Missing 411 becomes impossible to ignore. Polide's documented clusters, not just missing people, but missing types of people. Experienced outdoorsmen, hunters, prospectors, men who knew the land well enough to trust it. And when you overlay those clusters onto historical maps of mining claims, old prospecting routes, and rumored caches in Idaho, the overlap becomes uncomfortable. These aren't tourist mistakes. These are people who knew where they were until suddenly they didn't. Now consider this detail that rarely gets talked about. Many of these disappearances involved no sign of panic, no broken brush, no torn clothes, no obvious struggle, which raises a disturbing possibility. What if whatever caused these people to vanish didn't need to chase them? What if it didn't need noise, violence, or chaos? What if it only needed proximity and opportunity? Because predators don't always hunt the way movies tell us they do. Some wait, some observe, some select. Across indigenous oral traditions in Rocky Mountain regions, including areas that now fall inside Idaho, there are repeated warnings about going places you don't belong, especially when driven by greed. The stories don't describe monsters in the Hollywood sense, they describe something older, territorial, intelligent, and deeply aware of its surroundings. And something that doesn't attack villages or towns, only individuals who wander too far, dig too deep, or take what isn't theirs. These stories were never meant to scare children. They were meant to stop adults from doing something reckless. Now, here's where the tension tightens. Modern Sasquatch reports, Bigfoot if you will, and there's hundreds tied to Idaho and the surrounding Rockies, don't describe a mindless beast. They describe something that paces, parallels, tests boundaries, rock throwing, tree knocking, bluff charges that stop just short. Behavior that looks less like animal and more like territorial enforcement. And if something like that exists, something capable of strength, stealth, and long-term memory, it wouldn't need to kill often. It would only need to make a point occasionally. So when people vanish near rumored treasured sites, when searchers find silence instead of struggle, when entire areas develop reputations that quietly keep people away, you have to ask a question that feels insane until you say it out loud. What if the reason treasure stays lost isn't because humans failed, but because someone else succeeded first? And what if every disappearance isn't an accident, but a reminder? Almost across every culture on Earth, there is a rule that shows up again and again. If something valuable exists in the wild, it is never unprotected. Sometimes the guardian is a spirit, sometimes it's a god, sometimes it's a creature that doesn't belong to us. In the Rocky Mountains, especially in regions that include Idaho, those guardians were never described as monsters. They were described as keepers, and the warnings were never, "you'll be attacked." The warnings were always simpler. Just don't go there. Indigenous traditions throughout the northern Rockies speak of a large, human-like beings that live far from camps and trails. Beings that understood territory and consequence. They're not portrayed as evil, but they are absolutely not friendly. They watch, they listen, and they respond when boundaries are crossed. These stories exist long before prospectors, before mining claims, before anyone started digging holes in Idaho's mountains looking for something to sell. And here's the thing, okay? This is what matters the most. The stories almost always involve places of value. Not just gold, but land, resources, and sacred ground. Modern reports echo the same themes in a way that's hard to dismiss. People who claim encounters in Idaho wilderness don't describe random sightings. They describe being followed, paralleled, tested, rocks thrown from places no human should be able to reach. Tree knocks that respond to movement, bluff charges that stop just short, as if whatever's doing it doesn't want to kill, it wants to warn. These encounters don't happen near towns. They don't happen on trailheads. They happen deep in territories that overlap perfectly with old mining zones and rumored cache sites. If something intelligent lived in those forests, something strong enough to survive winters, smart enough to avoid detection, and territorial enough to defend resources, then treasure wouldn't just be valuable to humans. Gold doesn't corrode, it doesn't rot, it doesn't disappear. It could be used as a tool, markers, or even something symbolic. And if that being found hidden treasure before we did, why would it ever allow us to take it back? So now this reframes disappearances in a completely disturbing way. People don't go missing because they're unlucky. They go missing because they crossed into someone else's space. They didn't stumble onto danger. They walked towards it intentionally, following maps, rumors, or clues that led them right where they weren't supposed to be. And when that happens, the response wouldn't need to be chaotic or loud. It would be precise, quiet, and effective, like a spider in a trap. And that's the part that sticks with you, because if guardians like this exist, whether you call them Sasquatch, forest keepers, or something older, then they wouldn't need to wipe out everyone who comes close. They only need to make sure a few never return. Just enough to build fear, just enough to turn real places into whispered legends, just enough to keep the treasure exactly where it is, untouched. So now the question isn't whether Idaho has lost treasure, the question is whether Idaho has something that's been protecting it this whole time. Because we already know the treasure's there, unless somebody just, took it and never said anything, which is completely illogical. At this point, it's impossible to pretend this is just folklore because Idaho has names, real ones, places where people disappeared and never fully came back. That is, if they came back at all. The Frank Church Wilderness alone covers more land than some U.S. states. These are thousands of abandoned mine claims buried beneath forest growth and decades of silence. Prospectors didn't just pass through here. They worked it quietly, often illegally, and sometimes without ever filing a claim, which means these are routes, tunnels, and caches that exist only in rumor. Hunters and hikers still vanish in these same corridors. Search and rescue reports describe people who were experienced. They were well-equipped and familiar with the terrain. Some are found days later in places already searched, confused, dehydrated, or missing critical gear. Others are never found at all. And when investigators quietly overlay these cases with historical mining maps, something strange happens. The disappearances don't spread evenly. They cluster around drainages, old claims, remote basins that never became towns because too many people never made it back. This whole thing is unsettling because of how often witnesses report a sense of being watched beforehand. Not fear, awareness, a feeling of pressure, silence where there should be sound. Hunters talk about woods going quiet before abandoning an area for reasons they can't fully explain. Some report rocks thrown, others hear movement pacing them just out of sight. These aren't stories from thrill seekers online. They're from people who don't want attention, who often stop talking once they realize how it sounds. And almost every one of these accounts happen far from roads, in terrain that overlaps old treasure rumors. This is where the treasure theory snaps into focus, because if hidden caches exist, and history confirms that they do, then they've been sitting in these mountains for generations, long enough for something else to notice, long enough for something else to claim them. And if that thing understands territory, then people wandering in with maps and metal detectors wouldn't look like explorers. They'd look like thieves. What if that's why some people are never found? Not because they failed, not because they got lost, but because whatever encountered them didn't need to leave evidence. No panic, no chaos, no noise, just removal. And once someone doesn't come back, the story spreads quietly. Not as a warning broadcast on signs, but as a feeling people get when they stand in certain places too long. By now, Idaho doesn't feel like a backdrop anymore. It feels like a boundary, a place where history, treasure, and something else intersects. And where crossing the wrong line doesn't end in riches. It ends in becoming part of the mountains itself. Here's the truth that makes this story impossible to shut down. No one can honestly say all the treasure in the Rockies has been found. Not in Idaho, not anywhere. The mining booms were chaotic, undocumented, and rushed. Men hid gold because they were sick, hunted, broke, or afraid. Some planned to return. Some never got the chance. And when claims were abandoned, when towns died, when records were lost to fire or time, entire pieces of history simply slipped into the forest. That part isn't speculation. That part is fact. Which means somewhere in Idaho wilderness, there are still places no one has stood in over 100 years. Places where picks struck stone and stopped. Places where something valuable was hidden with the full intention of being recovered later. And if that's true, if even one of those caches still exist, then the story doesn't belong to the past, it belongs to right now. The mountains haven't changed, the isolation hasn't changed, and whatever else has been out there this whole time, well, it hasn't changed either. This is where the theory becomes dangerous, not because it tells people what to believe, but because it makes too much sense to ignore. If an intelligent territorial presence exists in this forest, something that understands patterns, boundaries, and resources, then it wouldn't need to hunt randomly. It would only need to respond when someone gets close to something worth keeping. And that would explain everything. Why some people vanish without a trace, why others are found disoriented miles away, and why certain places develop reputations that quietly keep people out without signs or fences. That's the part that should make you feel uneasy, because if the Guardian theory is even partially true, then the reason no one's found certain treasure isn't because it's too well hidden. It's because the cost of finding it is too high. The mountain doesn't stop you, the weather doesn't stop you, something else does. And it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't chase headlines. It just makes sure the story never gets told. Some people listening to this right now are already thinking it. They're picturing maps, drainages, old claims, places they've hunted or hiked, even driven past 100 times. They're thinking, if it's real, someone could still find it. And maybe that's true. Maybe the treasure is still there. Maybe it always will be. But every legend we've talked about tonight carries the same warning. Whether it's spoken or not, what's taken from the mountains is never taken without consequence. So, if you ever find yourself deep in Idaho's wilderness, somewhere quiet enough that forest feels like it's holding its breath, and you get that feeling that you're not alone, not fear, just awareness, remember this episode. Remember the men who found something and never came back. Remember the places people don't talk about anymore, and then ask yourself one final question before you take another step forward. Are you looking for lost treasure? Or are you about to become part of the reason it stays lost? By now, I'm guessing this episode didn't just entertain you, it followed you, because once you start looking at the world this way, it doesn't really go back to normal. Mountains aren't just scenery anymore. Wilderness isn't empty, and that idea that everything valuable has already been found suddenly feels naive. Maybe treasure is still out there. Maybe it always has been. Or maybe the real story is that some things don't stay hidden because they're hard to find. They stay hidden because something makes sure they do. And if that thought even crossed your mind tonight, then this episode did exactly what it was supposed to do. Now listen, if you made it all the way to the end of this episode, you're not a casual listener. You, my friend, well, you're the core of what we're building here. And I'm counting on you more than anyone. If this show made you think, made you creeped out, or it even made you want to call a friend and say, hey, have you heard this episode? Please do that. Like the show, share the show, post about it, and if you haven't already, get over to the Witch Show Facebook page and join the conversation. Because this isn't just a podcast, it's a community. The more people that jump on this ride with us, the bigger, the better, and the wider it gets. So, as always, this is Georgie, and I'm thinking out loud so you don't have to.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Witch Show, from what I think seriously to you.
WITS, The Witch Show.
Cool story, bro.
Okay, that's it. Episode over.
Wow, dude. You just said that like someone who just realized camping is a scam.
Camping is a scam. You pay money to pretend you're homeless in bear territory.
Dude, when did you get this wise?
About 30 minutes ago when we started talking about forest guardians.
Oh, come on, dude. You loved it. I could hear it in your breathing when you got quiet.
Yeah, that wasn't love. That was my brain filing a missing persons report on itself.
Fair enough, dude. You did stare at the wall for a long time.
Yeah, because the wall doesn't have opinions. The woods do.
Dude, you don't know that about the wall.
Stop.
Look, dude, we're fine. We're indoors. We're safe. We're not currently digging for gold.
Yet.
See, that's the kind of comment that gets you escorted out by the mountains.
I swear if I hear a noise tonight,
It's just the house settling, dude.
our house doesn't settle. It judges.
Okay, that one's on you.
I'm locking the doors and the windows, and I'm closing the blinds.
Smart, dude. Not paranoid, just survival core.
You're enjoying this way too much.
A little bit, dude. But admit it, if I wasn't here cracking jokes with you, you'd already be Googling how to move somewhere where there's no trees.
No, I already did that.
Of course you did.
Why do we do this show?
Because, dude, deep down, you like being uncomfortable. and I like to watch it happen.
Yeah, well, that definitely checks out.
All right, let's end this before you start accusing the coat rack of watching you.
Well, I mean, it has been suspicious all night.
Hey, yo, Jarvis, will you hit the music, dude, before freaking Georgie sage cleans the studio?
Maps on the table, rumors in red. X marks the spot, but they all end dead. Old mine tunnels, breathing cold air. Everybody says, don't go there. Boots in the dirt, heart on fire. One more ridge and we're getting higher. They said it was hidden, said it was real. Said take the gold, don't make a deal. Something's watching from the tree line. Every step feels like a thin line. They never say why they disappear. Just another name that's not still here. Let's keep it. The gold, the truth, the bones beneath it. You can take a chance, but you won't beat it. Everybody leaves, but no one sees it. The woods keep it. You dig too deep, and now you need it. One wrong move, and you won't believe it. Treasure stays, cause the forest means it. Whoa! Headlines fade, but the trail's still there. Gear left clean like nobody cared. Search team circle, dogs lose track. Like the ground itself pulls you back. Rock hits wood from way too far. Something knows exactly where you are. Not a myth, not a ghost, not a dream. Just a line you crossed in between. They say lost like it's random chance. Like the mountains don't understand. But patterns don't lie, and neither do scars. Some things don't want who we are. The woods keep it. Every soul that tried to claim it. Every map that almost named it. Every lie we used to tame it. The woods keep it. You feel brave till the silence hits. Heart pounds when the forest shifts. Gold stays buried with the witnesses. Whoa! Whoa! Maybe we weren't meant to find it. Maybe we were warned but ignored it. Every legend's got a reason. Every season takes a portion. You think you're ready, you think you're tough. But the mountain decides when it's had enough. The woods keep it. Say my name but don't repeat it. If I vanish, don't tweet it.